Today's video is going to be really different from all the other videos you've seen on my channel, and if you're a regular visitor to my videos, there's one thing you got used to is that we do things differently here. My fluency program is different from most English courses, and that's also why my students get different, better and faster results. Men, women, everyone struggles with their mental health, especially post-COVID times, but we don't talk about this enough, especially its effects on learning to speak English fluently. So I'm making this video to empower you, to support you, to let you know that you're not alone with the things you might be struggling with, and that there is always a way out, no matter what sort of problems you're currently facing about your life or about your English fluency. Up until like my mid-20s, I used to struggle with all the judgment that men receive in our societies. I come from a country, Hungary, where it's a pretty male-dominated society where you're supposed to be always strong, never show your emotions, always interested in talking about cars, women, alcohol, and all that stuff. And if you don't fall into these categories, even if you're a teenager, people will make fun of you. I used to have high-functioning anxiety, always worrying about what's gonna happen in the future, being a perfectionist, being ashamed of my own emotions, procrastinating on things that I found painful to face. People used to make fun of me for all sorts of things. They called me girly, some people called me gay, and they also made fun of me for being an overachiever at school. And it nearly destroyed me. And whether you're a man or a woman or identify as someone else and you're struggling with something right now in your life or about your English learning, just remind yourself that things will always get better. June is Men's Mental Health Month. I don't know if you know this, I just realized this year. And as a supporter of gender equality, I do believe that it's important for us men to also get in touch with our feminine side and let the emotions out and talk more about the struggles that men need to go through in this society to survive. And I also know that mental health plays a huge role in someone's progress in speaking English. So I thought I would dedicate this video to sharing with you how I have dealt and have been dealing with my mental health issues, talking about the struggles I've been through and the lessons I learned, so you can take away something and improve your mental health at least 1% based on what you hear in this video. And I want to preface this with one important thing that is more fluency related, that we spend more than 10 years in an education system that makes us all believe that when something goes wrong, when we don't see progress, when we get confused or frustrated, there must be something wrong with us and that we must be stupid. It's not because struggling English students are stupid that they aren't improving their English fluency. Learning English involves feeling scared of making mistakes or mispronouncing words in front of others, getting frustrated that we don't understand everything we're listening to, feeling angry when we can't remember vocabulary that we want to use in a conversation, feeling disappointed when we aren't making as much progress as we thought we could. These have got nothing to do with our intelligence, our IQ. These are emotions. And there are a bunch of other what we call uncomfortable emotions that we all experience as humans as we are learning to speak English. Isn't it funny? And I talk more about the important, incredibly important role emotions play in making progress with your English fluency in an earlier video I made, that most students look for what to do next, what grammar to study next, what words to memorize next, what books to buy to improve their vocabulary, or what's the best course for them to improve their pronunciation, when there are so many of these uncomfortable emotions around learning that we all need to learn to deal with. And if I'm really honest with you, and today's video is all about me being brutally honest, this is the reason I decided to be an English fluency and learning coach instead of being a teacher. Learning to speak English takes time, requires patience and consistency. And to reach fluency and gain confidence in speaking English, the fastest, most effective and most painless way possible, people need support, a lot of emotional support on this journey. Welcome or welcome back to another video of mine. My name is Chubby. I'm an English fluency learning and language anxiety coach, and this is a channel for English learners who want to learn how to make vocabulary more memorable and how to speak English more freely, comfortably and confidently with the help of listening and spoken interaction. So if these are topics that you're interested in, you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you get weekly updates, everything I share here, so you can understand more about what exactly you need to do and how exactly you need to think if you want to improve your English fluency. I was called girly for reading books instead of always climbing trees or playing with toy cars that I was never interested in. And actually, one of the reasons I chose a high school 35 kilometers away from my hometown was because people called me gay, just because I had so many girl friends at school or even at the playground when I was really, really young. And I used to struggle a lot with high functioning anxiety. I was born into a family where both my parents were pretty anxious. They were worried about everything they could. My parents are both pretty anxious people. They were also working class people, and they invested all their money and all their extra time to helping us, my sister and me, to get a better education and a better life than they could, which is honorable. And I'm always going to respect my parents for that. But proving to them that their investments were all worth it, I felt like I needed to study a lot. So I got the best grades at high school, but that cost my mental health because I spent sometimes 4, 5, 6 hours a day studying for the next day. I wasted so much energy on trying to be the perfect son, the perfect friend, the perfect brother, and the perfect classmate. I actually let my classmates take advantage of me and the fact that I wasn't saying no to anyone. So I spent most of the little breaks we have in between classes writing their English homework just because I was struggling to say no. And this is one of the first lessons I wanted to share with you. You need to do your best to protect your time and energy. We know how much the time and energy you spend and the attention you pay to learning English determines how quickly you reach fluency and you gain confidence in speaking English. And one thing that every successful English communicator does is protect their time and energy at all costs. I had this middle-aged student once who was one of the first students who joined my fluency program, the Proficiency Fortress. And she was really excited about improving her speaking. She'd never taken part in group classes, but she finally found the confidence to eventually take part in it, and she was improving a lot. But she struggled to find time for learning English outside of the class time we spent together. The only time she had available was when her husband and her children weren't at home, but then her neighbor kept coming over for gossip. That literally meant 2-3 hours of her time that she wasn't able to use the way she wanted, learning English, reviewing vocabulary, listening to podcasts, or the things that I send out to my students to help them remember vocabulary every day, simply because she was unable to say no. And I know this is not an easy thing to do when we are all trained to be what we call people pleasers, to always do what other people want us to do, but it's also important to respect our own time and let other people know how we have dreams to build and goals to reach. Time is your biggest asset, and the moment you start appreciating your time, the limited time you have available to live on this planet, and whether you spend it learning English, reviewing vocabulary, listening to something interesting, improving your focus, or just doing something that profits your future, your fluency will get to a whole new level. And I think one of the worst things about society is that we built a society in which very few people feel safe enough to share their own struggles and what emotions they are struggling with. I never told anyone any of the things that I was struggling with. I was struggling with all of this alone, thinking that I was the only person who was called gay, girly, who was made fun of because I was so anxious and weak and studying all the time, until COVID came and I saw my whole entire life collapse in front of me. Just like so many other people experienced this, I lost all my identity, everything I loved about life. Traveling to all kinds of countries. The reason I moved to Japan was because I wanted to explore the rest of Asia. The other things that brought me joy, socializing with other people, safety I felt about building my own future, were lost in a second. And let's just not even talk about the stigmatization that foreign residents of Japan were experiencing back in those days. So I very quickly fell into deep depression. I was already losing a lot of my hair, but I was starting to bald even more. And I was depressed to a level where I literally had suicidal thoughts. I was crying before going to work. I stopped contacting a lot of my friends. I actually lost a lot of my friends back then. I even did my best to stay away from contacting my family as well. Luckily, that thing is the thing of the past, and I'm gonna share with you at the end of the video how I overcame this deep depression and how I'm now living the best life I can, running a business with the best, most supportive community that I could ever have built with English learner. But let's just dive into why working on your mental health and making sure that you prioritize your mental health will help you deal with all your struggles when it comes to learning English. One thing I learned in this mental health journey was that even though we spend so much of our time and energy hiding the emotions we are struggling with, once we talk about them, we can learn so much, not just about ourselves, but about each other. We're usually ashamed of struggling, partly because so many other people hide their struggles too, so that kind of makes us think that we're the only ones who are having the worst time of their life. And let's just not talk about the fact that on social media, most people are just gonna share the highlight reels of their lives, showing how happy they were in those 5 seconds when they took the videos or the photos on their holiday or on their wedding day. For many years, I didn't tell anyone how embarrassed I was about speaking English in front of other people, struggling to put sentences together, making mistakes, or having a thick accent. But when I started to share it, I realized I wasn't the only one struggling with it. Pretty much everyone who's serious about learning to speak English fluently is struggling with all these confidence and insecurity issues. So why would I feel bad about having struggles around the issues that everyone else is struggling with? But since then, as a business owner and as a leader of my community, I understood. And by reading Brené Brown's books, I highly recommend all of them, I read The Gifts of Imperfection, one of the best books I've ever read about how not to be a perfectionist. I actually learned that when I'm sharing my own struggles, others will understand that they are not alone with those struggles. And as the purpose of my entire business to bring more joy, more fun, more motivation, more encouragement, more empowerment into the lives of ambitious professional English learners, when I'm sharing my own stories of anything that I was struggling with, no matter how uncomfortable it might feel to me to be sharing all of these things on videos that any randomer, stranger, hater could come across on the internet, I can empower others that they aren't alone. I can empower you to accept your struggles as completely normal, natural human reactions to learning a foreign language, and that when you face those challenges and embrace the struggle, instead of what most people do, which is spend years avoiding challenging and uncomfortable situations that will always lead to growth and improvement. You don't necessarily need more grammar, more idioms, more advanced words, or a native accent to be speaking English confidently. The only thing you need if you feel nervous about speaking English, if you minimize the contact hours you have when you need to speak English or run away from opportunities of having conversations, is to take a little bit of courage. When you take courage, you don't just show yourself how much more powerful you are than you thought, and don't just gain confidence in speaking English and understand that you are not in control of the conversation or of what other people say, but you could learn and teach yourself how to take control of what you do and how you think, but you're also letting other people feel braver and show up for themselves. And by the way, if you need a safe space to practice speaking English with other people, no matter what level you are at, you can join my free community called Build Your Fluency, where you can join our conversation circles to practice having conversations with other people, participate in my fluency trainings that will help you understand how you can improve your listening, your pronunciation, your grammar, everything else about your fluency, and do our speaking challenges that we are running occasionally that will also help you improve your fluency. And the last mental health thing I wanted to remind you is that everything is temporary. If you're struggling with something right now, you might not see the end of this struggle, and you might feel like the thing you're scared of doing, whether it's speaking English in front of other people or taking off the subtitles so you could really practice understanding real spoken English. Or you could also be scared of wasting your time doing the wrong things so you don't spend time reviewing vocabulary or learning English. Just look back at your life in the past where you were scared of something but you still did it while feeling scared. Things felt so much easier and better right after dealing with your fears, which is just proof that nothing is impossible. And those who keep trying no matter what, don't focus on doing things perfectly, but focus on doing things 1% better and focus on the future they want to build, will always get there. It's just a matter of time, and you probably need tremendous amount of consistency and patience. In those dark days at the end of 2020, the parents of the kids I was teaching in countryside Japan made my life a living hell, and I just wanted to leave as quickly as possible with all my bones. So I wrote a lengthy email to my manager about handing in my notice, who kept sending me other people to talk me out of it. I mean, she did the best she can. Managers in Japan don't really get much training on how to support their employees with their mental health issues, but at the same time, she didn't allow me to leave. I was suffering every day. I didn't clean up my flat, I wasn't showering sometimes, I didn't iron my shirts, and I was much more irritable with the students I was teaching at the school. And as someone who dedicated all my life to teaching and helping others, I felt like I was a loser. I was a horrible teacher, and I definitely knew I needed time away from people. Every time someone applied for that job, and there were like 5 people applying within those 9 months, my manager rejected all their applications. I don't want to go into the details, but it was basically all about her wanting to have a white male native speaker as a teacher in her school, while I was having suicidal thoughts and I was about to kill myself. And at the same time, I knew I could do so much more with all that experience teaching adults for 13 years at that time, and my master's degree and all the professional trainings that I got on how to help people speak English more fluently and confidently, that I wasn't feeling like teaching random kids, half of them not even interested in learning English. Their parents put them into the school because they wanted to have some free time that they could spend shopping in the area. And my dream was to get back into managing my own business, where I can help people with their learning difficulties, coach them around some of their fears, and help them understand how they can build confidence while speaking English, remember vocabulary, and understand fast English, the things I talk about on this channel. And this feeling when a big part of you just wants to leave as quickly as you can, because you know that there are bigger things waiting for you, but at the same time you're physically trapped there, I would never wish that to anyone. You know how consistent I am with anything I put my mind to, which was a big part of my success with learning to speak English fluently, and this is what I teach to my students inside my coaching program as well. And I knew that all I needed was to keep going, keep focusing on the dream, the thing that gets me out of bed, that gets me go through the day, so that I can get one day closer to the day when I could finally leave. So after counting down the days in the worst possible period of my life, the 30th of April finally came. My last shift finished, so obviously first thing I'll do is get out of here. I documented everything back then if you are following me on Instagram. I walked out of that classroom, never looked back, and hopped on the first train I could find towards Tokyo. Our surroundings, not many people realize, but our surroundings have a huge effect on how we feel, how confident we feel about ourselves, and ultimately on our motivation, including our motivation to keep learning English as well. And it may be scary for people to get out of the toxic places that they find themselves in, whether it's their circle of friends, their family, their unsupportive parents. Being brave and trusting that there is a better world out there, even if you don't know what's going to happen. Having that change of scenery, whether it's for 6 months, for a year, for 5 years, or forever, will help you feel so much freer, so much better, so much more comfortable, more motivated, and more confident about yourself. It's your responsibility to surround yourself with good people who support you, who celebrate you, who accept you, who allow you to be who you are, and who cheer on you every time you make progress with whatever you put your mind to. The moment I started living in Tokyo, I finally started to heal, because that's where my friends were, and those were the people that I chose to be part of my life. Everything changed and I finally recovered, got back my motivation and my purpose as well, when I could spend 8 months healing in 2021 and 2022 in 4 beautiful countries in Southeast Asia: Thailand, Cambodia, Malaysia, and Singapore. All I can say to maintain a good mental health: keep fighting, keep going, keep facing your challenges, and keep improving, because those people who focus on growth and improvement, no matter whether they run into some failure, they are steps ahead of most people, and that's what lights us up when we see ourselves growing and changing. So now that you know a bit more about me, I hope you could take away something from my own lessons on mental health. You could apply them to your life and to your English learning journey as well. If you feel brave enough to share some of the things you might be struggling with or the lessons you learned, just share them in the comments below, or you can always shoot me an email and just share with me however you feel about your English right now. And I hope this video helped you to have some tools or way of thinking that will help you feel much more confident about speaking English. Take courage and keep improving. Those people who never lose hope that there's a better life out there once they keep going, keep working for that, will always be happy, because there is a reason for them to stay committed to their goals. And I think they are the true heroes of this world.